Hi, this is Mother O. Welcome to another episode of Mme Mmatswale. Today, I am with my daughter-in-law, Masichaba Lisel Lepoko. This name, Masichaba, was officially given to her when she joined the family. So the mother of nations. So thank you, Lisel, for loving my son and joining our family. Today, we just want to talk about expectations and preparedness when we come into a relationship, especially the relationship between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. Most of the time when we prepare, it is husband and wife preparing themselves for that role. But when it comes to mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, there is no preparation whatsoever that I know of for both parties, where you are sat down, both of you, and we talk, or advices are given to both of you. So today, I just want us to talk about expectations when you come into this relationship, and also how prepared do you come into a relationship, or you just say, I'm married and that's it. So when Masichaba, okay, before you do that, please just greet the people. I mustn't deny you, the opportunity to say hi to the audience.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Mama. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so honored to be sitting with my mother-in-love. I don't like mother-in-law, mother-in-love, and discussing these very important issues with the broader public.
Yeah. Thank you, Masichaba. See how beautiful is beauty with the brains. So this is what I have acquired. When preparing for being a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, when did you start preparing yourself to be this daughter-in-law? When do people start preparing?
Okay, I'll answer first personally. With myself as a PK as well, PK pastor's kid, you grow up in a home where it's church. And I think to a certain extent, I've had the upper hand in being able to hear a lot from my parents. They deal with so many couples, so many mothers and mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law and husbands and wives. And so I think growing up, a lot of the time I've heard a lot about this relationship, about mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law. There's some kind of a problem that happens there. And, you hear, growing up, I heard a lot, my parents speaking about how to navigate. So I think subconsciously, I started preparing to be a daughter-in-law many years ago, many years before I even thought about a husband, But when it comes to my actual, mental preparedness and thinking about it, I would say, obviously, once you get into a relationship and you are in a serious relationship and you know where your relationship wants to lead to, you start, picturing yourself as this makoti, as this daughter-in-law. So I would say from a very young age, as females, maybe not just myself in a pastor's home, but as all females, there's always this discussion, around umakoti. There's always these tales about you waking up in the morning at 4:00 and they're gonna make you sweep and they're gonna make you make coffee and tea. And so I think from a very young age, as a young girl, you start thinking about it and preparing for it.
Even the songs that we sing, it's like umakoti ungowethu. Makoti is ours. And the expectation is right there in the song. She will cook for us. She will sweep for us. She will, she will do everything for us. I don't know what we will be doing for Makoti. As a mother-in-law, in terms of preparing, in terms of, getting ready to receive this woman that is coming into the life of my son, I started as early as when my son introduced and said, this is the lady that I want to get married to. And I start figuring out the shift, the change, that how is it going to impact on my life and how is it going to impact on my family, especially with the things, I don't know, probably there are not many beautiful stories that are told about relationships between daughters-in-law and mothers-in-law. That is why immediately that when that comes, you become horrified and say, what type of a mother-in-law am I going to be? And hence, for me, I started praying and I started asking for prayers. I would kneel at the altar and say, God, please help me. And I'm still praying that, God, please help me, because I understand that people are dynamic. We are not the same. We may look the same. Our issues may look the same, but they are not the same. So one needs to be mentally prepared and ready for a shift and ready for change and ready for adjustments. So, Masichab, Proverbs 31 woman. You know, when I got married, there is this auntie that came from the rural areas towards the border of Mozambique. She would come and say to me, Makoti, ubavuka Makoti, must wake up 4 o'clock. And she would tell me how Makoti must wake up, make the tea in the morning, 4 o'clock. And then she said she wants to see me before she leaves, that I am a true Makoti. Indeed, I tried. For 2 days, I tried. I'm telling you the truth. I tried. My husband can testify to that. I woke up the first day when the auntie was there. I woke up. I made tea 4 o'clock. And then I brought the tea back. And then I woke him up. I said, Papa, here's the tea. I said, what for? It's 4 o'clock. I said, hey, Papa, this is the tea. They said, I must give you the tea. Wake up and drink the tea. I made an effort. And then he woke up eventually and drank the tea. And then the following day, I woke up. I made the tea again. And then brought it. I woke him up. Papa, here's your tea. Then he said to me, I'm not waking up. When we woke up around 7 o'clock, there was a layer of, a hard layer on top of the tea there. And then I showed them, I said, Mama and Auntie, my husband does not want to be woken up in the morning. What he said to me, he said, I am not working at the firms there, at the factories there. I'm not going to catch a bus, 5 o'clock bus, so don't wake me up. I'm driving to work. So that was it. So the expectations are such that you as a daughter-in-law, you must do something. When, in your opinion, Masichaba, God has blessed me. Masichaba, when in your opinion must mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law meet? On the first day, when you say yes to this boyfriend, and then do you think that is the right time to say, here is your Makoti-in-law to be?
Definitely not, to answer your question. Not on the first day. When it comes to when a son brings home a girl to his parents, I think things have changed a lot over the years. I think maybe 30 years back, it would be so taboo for a boy to just bring home a random girl that he's dating and say, Mom, here's my girlfriend. That would have been very strange. Whereas nowadays, it's kind of become a norm where parents want to know, who their children are in relationships with. They want to meet you. They want to get to know you. So things have really changed. And in that light, I would say for any guy or girl who is in a relationship, don't rush into it and let your parents meet 5, 10 different people, because that really ends up in the end causing more damage than good. So when it comes to when you need to meet your boyfriend's parents or his family, I think once you guys have gotten to a point in your relationship where in your heart of hearts that this is the relationship that's going all the way. We are both ready, we both feel that we are ready at any given point to take that step. I will be satisfied with this person for the rest of my life. And, when you're in a mature a mature place in your relationship, because sometimes you might have the right person, but your relationship is not at that place where it's mature enough to be respected by your parents. So I would say wait until the time is right. You're responsible, you're mature enough to respect the relationship enough to take it to your parents, because I don't take it lightly, the meeting of parents, and the meeting of your mother-in-law to be
Your mother in love.
your mother-in love
Your
to
mother
be,
in love.
so yeah, I would say when people want to meet parents, take it slow and be sure, don't bring home 7, 10, 20 different people.
Yes. That said, this is one of the reasons where at the time when your son brings makoti to be, you find, because there are soul ties or the relationships, the bond is still with the previous, girlfriend or whatever. And then in terms of receiving this new relationship, it becomes a problem in terms of preparation, the preparedness. So with the sons, they have to manage themselves in that way, such that by the time they bring in their, the right one, they say, Mama, this is the right one. By the time they come in and say, this is the right one, because that is where most of relationships, they have been dented. The relationships where instead of accepting this daughter-in-law just at the beginning of the relationship, sometimes, these scars, they remain to, a long time. When you come in, they say, Mina umakoti wami, mina bengithanda sibanibani bekamhlophe. Then you come in, you are like me, you are dark. Or the one that they brought before, hey, it was a dark one. Then when he comes in, I say, no, I don't want, umakoti abamhlophe. So it is in our sons that when in the manner in which they handle the changes and they introduce. So at that point of introduction, we need to go back and say, how prepared as a mother-in-law was I to receive this woman? Because some of the feelings and resentment and bitterness and hurts, they start from there. So we need to go backwards and correct those issues that happened in the past. So the preparedness, how prepared are you? How can we nurture this relationship, after marriage, now that you got married, and then how do we make the relationship between mother-in-love, daughter-in-love to work? Because every relationship really needs to continually be nurtured. Otherwise, whatever you don't water, whatever you don't feed, it will die. How do we make sure that we protect and build on this relationship?
So I think an important thing, like now as we discussed, that times have changed, and now you find sons bringing home girls a lot sooner than it was back then. So it becomes tricky. When does the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law starts? Does it start while you are still a girlfriend, or does it start when you shift into becoming a wife? And I think when it comes to nurturing, the role or the responsibility really becomes a lot more serious. Once you get married, it's really your duty to ensure that you have a healthy relationship with your mother-in-law. As much as we might look at the mother-in-law as the villain a lot of the time and say, your mothers-in-law have this vendetta, against daughters-in-law for taking their sons and stuff like that. A lot of the time, we also need to take responsibility as daughters-in-law to ensure that you invest time and energy into making your mother-in-law feel your love. She needs to know that you're not some a girl on a high horse who's come in and you just expect everything to go your way, and you feel entitled because you have earned the love of her son. You need to come in and in a way make her feel like, what, yes, your son loves me, but I love you as well, and we both love you, and we can create a relationship with mutual love between all of us. There's no sort of competition. So I would say it's really upon the daughter-in-law as well. Once you are married, You know, yes, maybe when you're still dating, you can't really go out of your way to create this strong bond with your boyfriend's mother. But the moment you take the step into marriage, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to say, you know what, I want to have a good relationship with my mother-in-law. Let me call her and check on her. How is she doing? Let me see if there's anything she needs help with. If there's something happening at home, you know, what can I do? I'm not saying be that makoti who's juggling 7 pots in the kitchen at every event, but, you know, lend a helping hand and show that you are ready to have a healthy relationship.
I think also, in as much as, you know, the daughter-in-law does her part, you know, she comes on board. She accommodates the mother-in-law. She makes sure that she's comfortable. She makes sure that she's happy. She stretches herself. She bends backwards to ensure that, you know, the relationship works. For us as mothers-in-law also, we need to do the same. We need to find it in our hearts to be able to bend backwards and say, what does my daughter-in-law love? What support can I give to my daughter-in-law? How best can I be there for my daughter-in-law? For me, when I look back, I don't know where I can say I have been there, but when my daughter-in-law came to the house in December, I was so spoiled, rotten. Morning, it was the tea, it was the oats. I know, you know, they say, Mommy, what time do you want the breakfast? I say 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is after I finished with the prayers. 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Then after 7, 7:30, that will be my breakfast. The breakfast will come. You know, it will be, you know, oats. It will be this. You know, you can see that there is an effort. My daughter-in-law went into the recipe books, and, you know, tried to impress me. So when receiving that, you know, the love, you need to appreciate. You can't say, now I don't eat omelette, I don't eat you need to be able to try. So you need to bend backwards also as a mother-in-law. You need to accommodate and say, okay, I'm not going to let my daughter-in-law cook 3 meals in a day. No, I'm not going to allow her, you know, to wake up 5 days in a row for that 7 o'clock. As a mother-in-law, you must at least think for her and be there for her. So those are the things I said, when you're tired, don't, you know, force. We'll do something quickly, prepare something quickly. So it has been like that. So we need to be prepared mentally, and we need to be aware as to how we relate as daughters and mothers-in-law, especially the mothers-in-law. So how do we match the expectations? Oh, before we do that, the expectations of daughters-in-law on the mothers-in-law, are there any expectations at all? Because with us, you know, from the church, you know, Proverbs 31, my darling, from, you know, the communities, when I came in, because I was already a pastor's wife immediately when I came in, I was 22 years old. My mother-in-law had a group of praying women. All of them, they had something to say to me. They said, Makoti must not wear pants. You know, Makoti must, you know, twala. Makoti must wear something on the head, because Makoti must not wear earrings. And with a personality like mine, it was so hard. I said, Mama, please, they have their own makotis at home. You must tell me, as, you know, your daughter-in-law, how must I look for you, not for the other women, the whole village. I don't want to be makoti for the whole village. I just want to be your makoti. So those are expectations that, you know, you find out there. It took me the longest time to wear pants, you know, in church. To wear pants and to wear pants in church. I think more than 20 years or towards 30 years, I only started wearing pants in church, you know, a few years back. So not more than 10 years back. So what are the expectations maybe for the first time, mothers-in-law, let us listen carefully. What are the expectations that daughters-in-law have over their mothers-in-law?
Okay, so I'll give you expectations in two senses. Expectations, there's a sense of what a lot of people fear. They expect that when I get there, this is what's going to happen to me. There's that thing where you're not sure what to expect. You think that maybe when you get there now suddenly, there's now this burden on you to do this or to do that. I am very, very fortunate that I didn't have to have those fears that when I get there are these expectations. Coming into your home, Mama, I was very at peace and very at ease because I knew, my mother in love really has love, and she has love for me. And, I think that's one thing I can say that I'm very fortunate and grateful for, is that I've had a beautiful journey with my mother in love. I've never had the issues that many people, claim to have, where they feel like they compete, or where they feel some kind of unwantedness, or, high expectations. I've always been, at peace. And I think coming into a new home, the only thing I would say as a daughter-in-law that you really hope for, I wouldn't say you expect it, because you're not really sure what to expect. That's the honest truth. As a young girl, a young woman who just gets married, and you're going into this new home, you have no idea what to expect. You don't know what is going to happen. You only have hope that maybe it will be in a certain way. And I think for any young woman, the only hope you really have is that you're going into a home that is going to love you and accept you just the way you are, for who you are, and that you won't have to change and break yourself to fit in. I think I would say that really is the most important and fundamental expectation or hope that you can have as a daughter-in-law, is that when you get there, you just hope and expect, let this mother of mine, who's now my new mom, because you spend more time now, this is your new home. You're no more going home to your parents wherever you stayed before. When you say you're going home, now you mean you're going to your husband's home. And so at home you have your parents, and you have your new mother, and you can only hope and expect that she will treat you as her own daughter, and not as this added addition who suddenly came out of nowhere and is coming with her son by, not something that she wants, but just, by default, here's this little thing walking around the house. You don't want that. You want to feel like, I am your daughter. And I've been so fortunate, honestly, to say that I came in here with no fear, but rather just, peace, and saying, I'm coming home to someone I know already has that love and respect and appreciation for who I am as a person.
Yes. Here and is what every other daughter-in-law, daughter-in-love expects. Very simple. Love. Every one of the Makotis, they expect to be loved. So how difficult can it be to love your own daughter-in-law? Once your son chooses, once he chooses the person to love, he has chosen for everybody in the family. He has chosen for you as a mother. So we need to support, you need to love what your son has loved. Accept what your son has accepted. Support what your son has chosen. And there will be peace. She mustn't come in and try to prove and try very hard, whilst you know in your heart you will never ever accept that. That is, the most painful thing that any human being can ever go through. Lack of acceptance. So may God help us to try and accept, work very hard to accept our daughters-in-law, love our daughters-in-law, irregardless. Let's not count their mistakes. Nobody is perfect. You are not perfect as mothers-in-law. We are not perfect. I'm not perfect. So I'm not expecting anything to be perfect. It's like, you are not perfect for my son. I'm not perfect for my son also. I'm a mother with flaws. She comes in, she's a daughter-in-law with flaws also. Can we work around and cover one another's nakedness and build this new relationship that has started? Today, I want our relationship expert also to join us and work through with us and just give us some thoughts on this matter of expectations and acceptance, preparedness, and love. Welcome, Gugu Makome, our psychologist, clinical psychologist. Gugu, we have been talking about expectations and preparedness between the mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law as they come into the new relationship. As we are talking, we realize we have more to share about how prepared I was and how my experiences coming into the relationship. She was able also to, lay a foundation as to how do you prepare coming into a relationship. But we really have not delved much into how a mother-in-law can prepare or must be prepared. Where can she prepare herself? If you can assist us from a professional point, what is it that we can really do to have our mothers-in-law prepare better for the new relationship?
Thank you, Mother. I think one of the important things as people in this relationship is that we also need to be more realistic of the times where we are at, because there's been a shift to how things are done and we have moved into a more social space. So I think that a lot of the mothers, regardless of the age, need to adjust to that, need to adjust and know and understand that as much as we are expecting the daughter-in-law to bring in things, we are also expecting mom to bring some things, and we need to teach ourselves and we need to teach them. And I think that it is a role of everyone socially. If you can notice, there's groups on Facebook called Makotis, the new Makotis, and maybe we're starting off those forums for the mothers, even in our churches, even in the groups where a lot of the mothers are engaging. And I know it's difficult in our times now with COVID-19, but certain forums need to be opened so that abo mama get access and get information on what the young girls coming into their homes are expecting of them. And I think it needs also the open-mindedness to that, that they need to be much more open-minded. Right now, when we get married, I don't want to be subjected to wearing skirts, long skirts and a doek and no earrings. I want to be myself. So I think it is important. Some people frown upon the idea of us interacting, so allowing an external person, whether it is the pastor, whether it is a counselor, whether it is friends, family friends who are experienced and who are sensible. But we need to allow those spaces. And I think that even in the welcoming, the bridal showers, whether it's a church or in the exclusive spaces, mothers need to be talked to also, that here is this girl coming into the family. So we don't want her to be abused, but we also want her to treat her in this particular way. When also, and I think that to conscientize people, when we know that a particular lady within our spaces abuses and mistreats a certain daughter-in-law, to call them out for that. And I think that we make them aware and they need to know. So it needs that we need to be much more engaging in our settings. The daughters being able to access the mothers through aunts, relatives, but mothers also need to be very, very accessible to be able to engage around that content.
I heard a certain word, like abuse, that as mothers-in-laws, we can find ourselves in a position where we are very abusive. So we need to guard against being abusive. And also, as women, we take care that as we come together into this relationship, we don't abuse our power, we don't abuse our position as mothers-in-law, and find that we are, to summarize it all, you find we are very abusive. So we need to be our brothers' keepers, our sisters' keepers. Let us take care of one another. So we need to have those forums mothers-in-laws forums. Let them come out. Mothers-in-laws talk shows. Mothers-in-laws. This is but one of them. And it's just, we are just scratching the surface. There is a lot that we can be talking about. We need to go deeper in terms of dealing with the issues that really affect mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law. If you have stories also of expectations that went wrong, expectations that went right, please send those stories to us. And if you have something that you want us to share, the topics that you want us to touch on, or you have got questions, please share, send them to the email that is provided below. So we are going on building on relationships between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law. How can we merge those expectations, that preparedness, with the reality that you find yourselves in? You know, it's something else to expect, something else to be prepared, but how do you deal with your reality as it unfolds?
I think it's important, especially now when we speak of age, that as much as you are older, as much as you are experienced, you might not know everything. And I'm linking that to the idea then that you need to be able to listen to that which other people are saying, because when you listen, you are able to then process what they have said, then able to be cognizant of yourself to say, okay, I am not doing this appropriately, therefore I need to merge. Understand that she will not do things the way that you want her to do things. You must also understand that mom might not do things the way your mom at home would do it. So there needs to be that understanding of the people in that relationship. This goes for everyone in that family, because when you marry this man, you are marrying everyone. And I think that even in our African culture, but you even marry the garden, you know, that this is your responsibility. You need to look after that and you need to take care of that. So it is important that we create spaces where we are much more mindful. I think sometimes, Mom and Lizelle, our role is also to then help people to do that. And I think our role is not only to pathologize people and to make things look bad, but to create that understanding and that openness. Because when we don't address such things, when the two of you cannot sit and talk about, so where are we going to live? We are thinking of living in White River. No, I don't like White River. It then comes back to my offices, where you then are so resentful of her because she subjected you to staying in White River when it wasn't your option. So we need to normalize even the idea of having some space, some sessions. It doesn't have to be with me if that's threatening, you know, but it can be with a person and a trusted person that we can get to a space of accommodating each other and engaging around those issues that are very difficult. But again, it takes everyone in that relationship taking responsibility, because it is easy to blame you, it is easy to blame her, but people don't necessarily take responsibility in relationships. And open-mindedness, as you were speaking, I think one of the things for me that this relationship is bringing for me to the fore is the idea of changing times and how we need to be accommodating for that. And I think we can't be gogo lupogo, but now this is mother, and this is the changing dynamics, you know, and I think it's important for everyone to be accepting of that. And I think also for me, what is important is that we might not always bash the relationships. There's goodness in the relationship. Allow yourself to learn from her. Allow yourself to also learn from her, because she's got a thing or two to teach you, and be accepting to that.
On that note, next week, we'll be talking about what is it that we can learn from each other. What is it that mothers-in-law can learn from their daughters-in-law? What is it that daughters-in-law can learn from their mothers-in-law? Somehow there must be some learning to do. So back to class, a bit for some of us, but back to class, we are learning from each other and, you know, putting an effort to growing our relationships. Your last remarks, Seskuku, and also my beautiful Makoti.
So not all mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships are horrible. And we need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge what works. And for those who are not there, they can learn from that. Where there are issues need to be addressed and people need to talk about them. But remember, the idea of taking responsibility and acknowledging your difficulties and acknowledging the hardness of what is about to come into the family is very, very important as a way of moving forward and accepting and acknowledging each other.
Over to you.
Personally, I would say, I can't speak and say from my experience I've had tough times. Like I said, there really isn't anything to it. I haven't had any tough experiences when it comes to my relationship with my mother-in-law. But I would say for people who find themselves in that situation, I guess, where your expectations and the reality are not matching up. Maybe you expected things to be better or, different, and then the reality is that, no, it's not like that, and this is a new thing thrown at you. I would say, let's have patience and not give up on the relationship. Maybe you get off to a bad start. Maybe you expected more, and what you get is far less than what you wanted. Don't give up on the relationship from the get-go. Let's be patient with this thing, because it's almost like this piece of art or this thing that you're working on, and it will take time. When you get married, you're not getting married and there's a time limit to it. It's a lifetime thing. You're there and you commit yourself to your husband for a lifetime. You commit yourself to his family, to his parents for a lifetime. So I would say, for daughters-in-law and mothers-in-law, let's not be too quick to give up on a relationship just because of one bad experience, or just because one expectation wasn't met, or something went a little differently than you wanted it to go, than you hoped that it should go. Let's continue to have hope and patience and work on this beautiful relationship, because I definitely think it can be. I've seen, off camera we were discussing that we need to normalize good relationships, good mother and daughter-in-law relationships. So always strive towards that, even if maybe in the moment you don't feel it. In your heart, never lose the hope that you too can have that good mother-daughter-in-law relationship. You don't have to be the cliche. Yeah.
Wow, that is a mouthful. And I would love that where relationships did not go right, may you find it in your heart to forgive each other. Forgiveness is the beginning of healing. Let us work on those relationships, even as, Masichaba has said that don't give up on that relationship. Don't give up on your mother-in-law. Don't give up on your daughter-in-law. Let us forgive one another and continue to work on our relationships. See you next week on Mme Mmatswale.